Now, as you think about the diversity of the functions that you're supporting with capabilities from an analytics perspective, and of course with high quality data as a part of the first and foremost, foundational elements of what you're delivering, and you translate that to how your team is, configured, and the makeup of your team. How would you describe the sort of the technical functions that are in the team? And if you wouldn't mind, can you talk to me a little bit as you describe your team in those roles, how you're handling the topic of diversity and inclusion and building out that team?
Okay. So just looking at how the team is comprised. So I sit as the head, as a sort of BI and analytics. So within BI and analytics, we're then split where we've got our analysts, which are actually our qualitative or quantitative analysts, and our actuaries. So they're the ones that actually run models. And then on the other side, we have the business intelligence team. They actually report then to two BI managers. Within that team, we actually then have BI analysts. We've got data engineer, BI developer, and a data steward. And we also have a technical business analyst that actually looks after our documentation and processing. And then also with regards to the skills that sits actually within the team, clearly everybody has technical skills. You can't be in BI and in analytics without having the technical ability, where you are able to interpret numbers and data and organize data sets into programs like Excel, as an example. And also, as I said, we use Microsoft SQL as our core for the team. And then from a visualization perspective, we then have Power BI and ClickView. I think also one of the other important skills that we have in the team, but I think are required generally from a C-suite level to actually make your team valuable, is ensuring that the team has great communication skills, where they're able to actually explore the data, they're able to ensure that the right questions are asked about that data, and they're able to interpret it and present their findings in a way that actually allow team members to absorb and implement solutions, but more importantly, to allow their stakeholders to be able to interpret that information and make decisions from it. And then the other thing is also having attention to detail, which is the art of data analysis. You need to be able to be detail orientated. For me, that is very invaluable as a data analyst, to be able to examine the small details leading to bigger solutions, including granular interpretations of outcomes, and using these results to hypothesize about future trends and outcomes. And then the other thing is data literacy. So for my team to be able to actually translate that the data that we use through storytelling, through visualization, that then allows us to be able to ensure that our stakeholders that are actually utilizing the outputs that we create are literate, to be able to actually interpret those outputs for their own purposes and for actually driving value within their teams.
And as you think about the resources that you built into the team, obviously in a country like South Africa, your customer population, I would imagine, is a fairly high percentage people of color. So the customers and the stakeholders that you're serving, and within the technology capability delivery world, and more granularly within your responsibility set in data and analytics, how are you ensuring that you're creating opportunities for diversity and inclusion of people of color in the teams with the skills that are required for delivering these services? I think that's a really important dimension of leadership, especially within these kinds of functions that are so strategic to an organization. Could you comment on that?
Yes, Mark. So I think you've hit it on the head, especially with regards to South Africa, because the business case for inclusion and diversity is stronger than ever in a country such as ours, where we've got nearly 60 million people, of which 80% of those are actually Black Africans. 11% are other people of color, and only 9% are actually made up of white. And of those, 51% is actually made up of women in the entire population. And unfortunately, women currently only account for 23% of the STEM professionals working in South Africa, and only 17% of those are actually in leadership positions. So, and there's even far less for women of color, being in leadership positions. So as a sector, for us, it's very imperative that we hire women to improve diversity in the workplace. So looking at my team, the team I actually inherited. So a majority of the people in the team, yes, are people of color and they're African. But I only have, across the 3 teams, only 5 women. So this, I've actually then become intentional and being proactive with my HR to ensure that we actually hire more women in the team, especially because I currently have 7 vacancies that I'm actually trying to fill. So I've already spoken to my HR to actually say that part of the resumes that we receive, we need to be intentional in ensuring that we are actually sieving those out and are extracting all the women from those resumes so we can actually then interview them, and then hopefully based on skill and merit and experience, we could actually hire them. You don't want to hire just as a tick box exercise. The person needs to have the skills to actually do the work. So that is something that we're trying to do. And then another thing is with regards to ensuring that we try and bridge the gap when it comes to the gender parity of salaries. So it is proven that women earn 28% less than males, particularly from a South Africa context. I won't speak to the rest of the world. So for us, that means if you're already being underpaid, unfortunately, as a woman, it is self-perpetuating. If I ask for your pay slip and then I then give you a small increase based on what you currently earn, instead of actually paying you based on the role and its particular responsibilities and the work that you'll actually be doing and the scope. So what we're actually also trying to do with our HR is actually look at benchmarking salaries across the bank and in the industry as a whole. So we ensure that the people that we employed are then paid fairly based on their skill. And then additionally, we are also encouraging the women in the team to take part in the bank's mentorship program, because it is a proven fact that women are, and I think Harvard Business Review did that study about women being under-sponsored and over-mentored. But the mentorship program has a component of sponsorship to it. So that will actually allow a lot of the women in the team to then be exposed through to senior leaders within the bank. And that will actually then also help us create a pipeline for the team. And also, we've also recently started with our HR in creating our own mentorship program for the team, because we've received a lot of requests from people outside of our business unit who would like to join our team, but a lot of them actually don't have the necessary skills and experience. So we're actually creating a mentorship program where we will upskill them in SQL, in SQL, in Power BI, and in data science courses. And then they'll actually give them a project that they will actually do, which will allow them to get practical experience. And then the cream of the crop of that mentorship program, we will then make permanent resources within the team.
I love that manufacturing strategy for helping to identify and build the talent that you need, because in the data and analytics field, we know globally there's just such a short supply of talent, especially coming out of the institutions of higher learning, even as the raw material.